Hey, what are you up to?
Oh, I think I'm watching this old news footage from like the 60s, 70s. I don't know.
We have a project on that. That's perfect.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Let's
man,
watch it.
let's do it.
Hell yeah.
Welcome back to CBS at 6. It's your host,
Brody Rupert.
and Garrett Bine. So it's New Year's 1969, and it's time to wrap up the decade. We'll break it down by category first. First one is major political events, then followed by athletics, after music, and trends and fads. So we got the Bay of Pigs in 1961, happened from April 17th through the 20th.
And then we have the Cuban Missile Crisis, which occurred in October of 1962, when the Soviet Union attempted to plant nuclear weapons in Cuba, merely 90 miles from U.S. shores. President John F. Kennedy blockaded Cuba in an effort to stop shipments of the nuclear weapons. Eventually, the Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev agreed to remove the missiles from Cuba, under the condition that the U.S. does not invade Cuba.
That was a pretty intense 30 days there.
Yeah.
On the edge.
I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. In August of 1963, nearly 250,000 people gathered in Washington, D.C., in what is now known as the March on Washington. During this time, Martin Luther King Jr. gave his speech, labeled "I Have a Dream."
I'm happy to join with you today, and we'll go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. 50 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This monumentous decree is a great beacon, light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro is still not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still badly crippled by. When we allow freedom to ring, we will let it ring from every city and every hamlet, from every state and every city. We will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, great God Almighty, we are free at last.
This event helped lead to the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which guaranteed equal voting rights and desegregated schools, amongst other things.
Yeah, that was a heck of a speech. I was there, part of the 250,000 people.
Absolutely captivating.
Yeah, it really was. Alright, now we have the Birmingham church bombing in 1963, September 15th on Sunday. 4 members of the Ku Klux Klan planted 15 sticks of dynamite under the steps of a African-American 16th Church Street, killing 4 children and injuring 22 others. And then in 1965, we have the assassination of Malcolm X. After that, we got 1966, the creation of the Black Panther Party.
On July 20th, 1969, history was made when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, astronauts for NASA, became the first people in history to land on the moon. The mission was dubbed Apollo 11. Now we'll show you some footage from this death-defying mission.
I'm going to step off the limb. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Columbia, this is Houston, AOS, over.
Houston, Columbia, on the high gain, over.
Roger, the EVA is progressing beautifully. They're setting up the flag now. I guess you're about the only person around that doesn't have TV coverage of the scene.
Space race is over, baby. U.S. #1.
As always. Now on to a very controversial topic, the Vietnam War. We first entered the war in 1965, and to this day it continues to divide our country. There are protests throughout, but now we have exclusive footage from the war so that the public may see from a different angle. a tactic known as guerrilla warfare, where the element of surprise was used. U.S. combatants had no idea where the enemies were. For all they knew, they could be behind every tree. A truly gruesome sight to behold. My condolences to anybody who has family members in the war.
Yes. Now on to sports with Wogmeister Wog and Toot.
I'm Wogmeister Wog. This is my friend Toot. In the 1960 Olympics, Muhammad Ali won the gold medal in the light heavyweight division. In '64, he won the heavyweight championship of the world. That fight was crazy, dude. I was front row. I don't know where you were.
I saw it on TV and it was nuts.
Got some of them. Willie Mays had over 50 home runs in the 1965 Baseball Hall of Fame. List of 100 greatest baseball players. Glad I'm a Giants fan. I don't know about you, but
Bill Russell, 12-time All-Star and 1-time MVP, 2 NCAA championship. The Celtics were on fire this decade.
dude's a heck of a player.
Jim Brown, 3-time MVP and NFL 1-time championship, born in 1936.
Is that
Rushing
Farmer Brown or?
yards- I'm talking here. 12,312 yards, 104.5 yards per game. Did you know that?
I didn't. I'm trying to
Now
listen.
you do.
Talk, please.
Billy Mays, 1968 gold medalist in the 10,000 meter. He wasn't even expected to place, but he put it in gear and took gold.
Something you couldn't do, buddy. The Indianapolis 500 grew to popularity in 1960. Have you ever been to one of them races?
No, but your car would get gapped if you were in it. Yeah,
I'd
I did go to a race.
I'd bus all of
actually.
them.
Yeah,
I'd bus any car there. I
I
guarantee
liked
it.
it a lot actually.
I'd bus any car there. In other news, the first Super Bowl is in 1967.
Hornig moves up to the ball. The kick, an end over end down the middle, and the game is underway. Brown takes it on the 4-yard line, across the 10, cutting to the outside to the 20, and finally knocked out of bounds at the 22-yard line. Van Broncklin at quarter, comes back, fakes a handoff to his fullback. A swing pass intended for Barnes, but intercepted. Just a moment, intercepted, yes, by Bill Quinlan, breaking in from his right end position on the first play of the game. Green Bay, 1st and 10 on the 19-yard line. The pass thrown a little high, intended for Barnes.
Football became the most viewed sport in America in 1968. Packers suck, by the way.
Thank you, Nick and Two. Alright, so now it's time for entertainment. I'm going to read a list of top 5 movies from the 60s. So, here we go. Number 1, To Kill a Mockingbird, 1962.
She did something that in our society is unspeakable. She kissed a black man, not an old uncle, but a strong, young Negro man. No code mattered to her before she broke it, but it came crashing down on her afterwards.
At number 2, we have Midnight Cowboy, released in 1969.
Look, with these gals that want to buy it, most of them are old and dignified. Social register types, you know what I mean? They can't be trotting down to Times Square to pick out the merchandise. They gotta have some kind of middleman. And that's where old Daniel comes in, you know what I mean?
Hey, I'm walking here! I'm walking here! Up yours, you son of a bitch! You don't talk to me that way! Get out of here!
Third movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, 1966. For the fourth movie, The Wild Bunch, released in 1960. And number 5, Doctor Strangelove, 1964. One of my favorite movies. Check it out.
Hey, what about Major Kong?
Besides movies, this decade has seen a huge explosion in pop culture, with a variety of products and programming for us to enjoy. Here's some of the big ones.
Suddenly, all other music systems are as old-fashioned as the original phonograph. The reason? The new sleek-looking, superb sound. Wallensack tape recorders for 66. For example, the Wallensack 5300 stereo tape recorder. New Control Central has power-activated push buttons, 4-speed, 4-track operation, plus an AM/FM multiplex stereo tuner and 2 powerful speakers to surround you in stereo.
Jeopardy presents today's 3 contestants. This is Miss Kim Elam from New York City. This is Mr. Kent Jarrell from Vienna, Virginia. And this is our champion, Mrs. Karen Striesman from Freeville, New York. These 3 people will compete today on Jeopardy!
Here are 5 of your favorite friends, Barbie, Ned, Skipper, Alan, and Ken. But if you think they're the same as they've always been, you'd better take another look. Better check them again. Now you can see that they've all acquired a brand new look that Barbie inspired. Designers call this the Barbie look, this great new fashion look. And these bendable legs really look so natural, and the way that they move is so lifelike that you really be amazed at all the things they can do, and the way that you pose them is up to you. You can sit them on a sofa or the edge of a bed, or you can make them sit right on the floor instead. They can cross their legs and relax a while, or sit down to dinner in formal style. You can pose them together.
Alright, that's enough of that. Now let's talk about what really matters. Music. The 60s has been an amazing decade for music. But with so many great hits to choose from, we'll just have to stick to a few. So please, keep with us as we go over our personal top 10 songs of the decade.
Must be some kind of way out of here. Say the joker to the thief.
We don't need no education. We don't need no thought control. No dark sarcasm in the classroom.
Very superstitious writings on the wall.
There's something happening here.
What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop.
Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were older? Then we wouldn't have to wait so long. And wouldn't it be nice to live together in the kind of world where we belong? No one's gonna make it that much better.
Now that we've taken a look at music, let's look into some of the trends, like tie-dye, bell-bottoms, and big hair, and more.
Set your hair on rollers, get permanent body. Pat on the Roller Perm lotion. Hey, permanent body that lasts for weeks. New Bobby Roller Perm. Have one.
You're gonna see emotions that are really gone. Advertising that turns them on.
Come on, everybody, clap your hands. Oh, you're looking good. I'm gonna sing my song. It won't take long. We're gonna do the twist, and it goes like this. Come on, let's twist again, like we did last summer. Yeah, let's twist again, like we did last year. Do you remember when?
And that wraps up our CBS at 6 newscast. Summing up this decade from the rights movement, our first Super Bowl, Vietnam, tie-dye, and JFK's assassination, we truly endured a roller coaster of a decade. But now, from all of us here, have a happy New Year's.